Now, one of the investigators in the SenzoMeyiwa murder trial, Sgt Batho Mogola, says accused number 1, Muzi Sibiya, told her about the alleged assault at the police station. Sgt Mogola says that's the reason why Sibiya asked to be moved from the police station. Let's get you the very latest in terms of developments as we have seen and heard them throughout the course of the week. We're joined by Newzroom Afrika's Mnisi, who has been following developments very intimately there for us, as well as Melusi Xulu, who is a legal analyst. Thank you very much to both our guests. Linda, perhaps let's start with you, right? And we can visit this moment, because the trial within a trial essentially is to determine whether or not this version of the defense that their clients were assaulted into making this confession statement or coerced into making a confession statement, that is being tested. We heard for the first time, please correct me if I'm wrong, that indeed accused number 1 actually reported that an assault took place and it was recorded.
Yes, you'll remember that when he was arrested, he was arrested for a case of dealing in drugs. And in one of the court appearances in Tembisa, this was now on the 10th of July 2020, he actually did report that he was being assaulted. And you're making reference to how we're hearing this for the first time. Yesterday when it came out, we heard how he had initially reported that he was assaulted. Sgt Mogola, who's the arresting officer but also a lead investigator in the SenzoMeyiwa murder case, said that she had followed up on those claims by Muzi Sibiya, but discovered that there were no such claims because nobody could account or knew of that particular claim. It then emerged, according to her, that he had lied in an investigation and that it was catching up with him, and that is why he wanted to be moved to a prison cell. He then, when he was subsequently moved to a prison cell, he then requested to be sent back to a police cell, because he then started complaining about, food. Today, we're getting clarity, more details around that particular, assault, and Advocate Balui for the state wanting further clarity around what kind of investigations had gone into establishing whether this was true or not, right? And what Sgt Mogola is telling the court is that she did ask Muzi Sibiya about the assault, and he gave her no details, and that's when she decided to go to the Silverton police station to ask about these claims, and they even perused, she says, some of the incident reports that the police station would keep, and it emerged that there was no entry of that such, and there was no incident of that nature that was reported. She says she was then speaking to Brigadier Gininda, who instructed her to say, well, look, since there is no evidence, go back to him, obtain a statement, and open a case of assault. When he went to open, she says when she went back to him to ask for a statement, he then refused to give her a statement and ultimately refused to be taken to a medical doctor. But it's also interesting when you listen to then the response from the defense to that, saying at no point, the defense says at no point did Muzi ask or speak to the police officer about this particular assault incident, and he never said he was assaulted by the police officers from Silverton police station. Then the judge asked, so who then assaulted you? And he said, well, it was the investigating officers in this particular matter. He wanted to be moved from the police cells, the police station cells, to a prison because it was the investigating officer. The judge then followed up with a question: was there a case opened of assault, if indeed he did say that he was assaulted, and who in particular assaulted him? So we heard the EMPD officials being mentioned there, Sgt Mogola herself being mentioned there, as well as a gentleman by the name of Ngame who came out there. But essentially, the defense conceding that at no point was there a case opened, but also now claiming that the record was made, there were errors on the court record in terms of how it was recorded, because it says the assault was by the Silverton SAPD.
Okay, let's revisit this moment. Mr. Xulu, we're coming to you in a few seconds, but let's revisit parts of the cross-examination or the interaction during cross-examination on that.
I can't read, my lord, what is written. Assaulted by SAPD, Silverton. SAPD.
PD.
Silverton, my lord.
Right?
And my lord, my lord, the handwriting is not clear. However, I don't see anything, my lord, being mentioned of investigators.
I ask you to read, not to comment on the thing.
The accused, I can't read, my lord, this word. Assaulted by SAPD Silverton. Being assaulted by SAPD Silverton.
Yes.
Don't see.
Sorry?
Don't see his attorney.
What? But it is something.
Why don't you read it, all of you? I mean, please.
Yes.
My lord, if I can assist, we tried to transcribe it yesterday.
What does it say?
It says the accused being assaulted by SAPD Silverton. Don't see his attorney.
What? Don't
see his attorney. Violation of his rights. Need to be kept at correctional services. Been there since his arrest. Rights to be heard. Request to be held at Modabi prison.
Melusi Xulu is a legal analyst. Sir, given that there is a document, albeit that not everybody is able to read it clearly because of how it was captured, how helpful is this in this trial within the trial that hinges on the fact that the defense is arguing their clients made a confession under duress? Mr. Xulu, sir, I think you are muted.
Okay, sorry about that. Good afternoon to the viewers at home. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir. Please proceed.
And good afternoon to Linda as well. I think it's a good sign, but it needs to be proven correctly that, in fact, the report was done in a proper manner. For instance, if he says he was assaulted by the detective, at least that should be recorded correctly that he was assaulted by the detectives. But now there's an issue that it is stated on the charge sheet or on the document that he was assaulted by the Silverton police or SAPS. So now I think that needs to be clarified. I think if I heard correctly, please correct me. They need to get records or something so that it can be transcribed properly. I'm not sure, but it must be clear exactly who assaulted him according to the records, because now there's some contradiction, and it will assist this case if it's done properly. So that, because the onus is, on him to prove on the basis of probabilities that he was assaulted.
It was Advocate Ramosi who had a document, and as he said, that they endeavored to transcribe it. Linda, Mnisi, when we take a look at the denial by accused number one where ammunition is concerned, what do we need to understand?
Yeah, and just before we get to that point, just to add on Melusi Xulu's point, it's interesting to do how, the allegation is also around the Silverton SAPD as it's coming out, but initially it was also the police officers from Silverton police station. And if you look at, the people that are alleged to have assaulted the accused, they're now saying these are the investigators in the case, and we know that they're not stationed at that particular police station. They're from the National Cold Case Unit, and the others are from the EMPD. So I guess then, as Xulu puts it, it would have to then be clear around who exactly the allegation is for, seeing that there is no other record that seems to corroborate this particular court record that was there. And the explanation then by the police is that, no, the lies were catching up with him, and he then wanted to be moved to a prison cell, and when the prison thing was not working out, he then wanted to be moved back to the police station south. But also you point out the issue around the discovery of the ammunition. It's one of the cases. In fact, he was arrested for dealing in drugs, and then the ammunition was discovered. Interesting that the defense now says, he will deny that he was discovered or ammunition was discovered at his home. And the response from the state is now that that particular matter is still in the courts. In fact, on the 1st of December this year, there will be judgment in terms of that particular matter. So we're going to be hearing later then, as the case stands down for the year, a judgment will be handed down in a different court in line with the ammunitions case.
Mr. Xulu, yesterday we also heard more so, it wasn't, he said at the time, Advocate Mnisi, on behalf of accused number 3, he said it wasn't cross-examination, but rather a clarity-seeking exercise, and it had to do with a choice, right? So after reading a suspect his rights, did he give you his choice, whether he wants his own legal representative or he wants to be represented by the state? It was a very tense interaction between Mr. Mnisi and the witness, where he went as far as saying, don't come with those tactics. I'm asking you a question, give me a direct answer and not a long-winded answer. Just how helpful was that interaction?
I think it's a helpful interaction in the sense that, look, when you are arrested and your rights have been explained, as we've been talking about Section 35 of the Constitution during this last couple of months, it's important to understand it clearly in its entirety. If it's stated that you want to get, or you are asked if you want to obtain a legal representative, it must be clear whether you want a state-sponsored legal representative or you've got a private legal representative, because it might be that you need somebody else that can be already available at that time. So it was important for the detective to properly answer to that so that it can be clear. She was able to make him to understand so that he can, have a choice on his rights, because the problem with not getting a clear explanation on your rights when you've been detained or been arrested is that you might end up making mistakes or making confessions that you're not supposed to make because you have not been told properly what your rights are. So I think it was a helpful interaction by Advocate Mnisi.
Okay, unfortunately, that's all the time we can afford this afternoon. But Linda Mnisi, just to praise our viewers with what is happening at the moment, who's back on the stand.
So you'll remember AVL expert Michael Dupree is back on the stand giving that report, that expert report around the AVL and the exact GPS coordinate. Interesting that there was an interaction, quite a tense situation around, who must lead the evidence, who must lead the witness, and Advocate Mshololo saying that it would be best if Advocate Mnisi continues with cross-examination, but the judge ruling that, in fact, it must be the state because this is new evidence, right? And because it was requested by both the defense and the state, then the witness can give the evidence and then they'll be given a chance to cross-examine. So at this point, he is currently giving feedback on that AVL report. It's
layered, kuningi. Thank you very much to both our guests, Melusi Xulu, a legal analyst, and Linda Mnisi, Newzroom Afrika's reporter. Just remind your stories of